Hello and welcome to the West Yorkshire Football Show for Leeds United latest with myself, Stephen Brown, and joining me to discuss all things the Whites. It is Jason Bucket as well. Good afternoon, Jason.
Yeah, good. Is it good afternoon yet? I think it's still morning, mate. I mean, I know we're a little bit all over the place this morning. we won't share what the last 15 minutes have been like, but yeah, mate, good after morning.
Yeah, indeed. We're going to be chatting about all things Leeds. We're going to be looking at the managerial shortlist, talking a little bit about that, potential transfer rumours, previewing the Brighton game, all that good stuff. Jay, a draw with Spurs it was Monday night, and it's been interesting to watch some of the fallout, hasn't it? You've had Spurs fans going crackers. The media, I think, were depressed that Spurs didn't manage to win that game as well. But you've got a very grateful West Ham fan base as well. A lot of praise being sent Leeds United's way. And I know, obviously, Aston Villa had a European tie that they were kind of preparing for, but I mean, they really chucked it in against Spurs. And you think if Spurs didn't get that free ride in that game, they would be, I mean, they're in trouble now, but they'd be in so much more trouble because they'd probably be behind West Ham still with the harder fixtures. So they've been lucky boys in that regards. And I think it's a credit to Leeds that we went and played as we did Monday. I think, we've got a lot of players that are picking up knocks now. You can see, I mean, when you look at the distance Leeds have covered, the fact we've kept the majority of the squad so fit, had the fewest injuries, and now it feels like that tension's released a little bit. The objective has been reached, and now it's they're dropping like flies out there. Now it's and it doesn't really matter, but it just shows you, wow, you can imagine if we'd have kind of had a run like this earlier in the season, if that medical team weren't quite up to it, boy, it could have been a different season. So credit all round, really.
Yeah, it's been a funny one with the narrative. And even we refer to the group a lot because we do talk a lot about football between us as a group. Even they didn't really get it. It weren't that I were upset at not being the main story. I get that. I understand how big of a story Spurs are. It was the narrative going into the game that we were just going to roll over that irritated us first off, and then it was this kind of like we just didn't acknowledge the fact that Leeds actually played really, really well. First off, but then also we had a contextual situation with our injuries. Leeds losing 4 players, which is what it ended up being by half time in that game with Pascal Struijk as well, Jayden Bogle, Noah Okafor, and Gabby Goodmunson, is just as dramatic as the Spurs situation with the squad that they've got, because they've got such a great squad. I mean, you still look at the squad and still really they shouldn't be anywhere near where they are with the team that's playing there. So, and then there was this. Like, it was driven by a lot of the media that we were lucky to get a point out of that game, and I didn't see that. Outside of the goal, Darlow has nothing to do. The defence have to play really well, and they're chucking themselves on the line to block shots and stuff. That's great defending. We then score a very legitimate penalty. We have good chances outside of that as well, by the way. Joe Rodon before that in the first half, especially, and then obviously Longstaff. I mean, we should win the game. So, and it was just pushed that Spurs are improving under De Zerbi, and it's nonsense. I mean, that Villa performance was, Spurs weren't good. They just chased after the ball a bit more than they had done. That were it. They've been really lucky with the fixtures. Yes, you have to play everybody twice, sorry. But when you do face a certain team at a certain time, it does matter. And we've seen that with Villa. They followed that up by drawing 2-2 against Burnley, who were arguably the worst team in the division. Before that, Spurs, they beat Wolves, who were awful. We'd beaten them 3-0. West Ham had beaten them 4-0 the week before that, and Spurs basically just tripped over the line against them. You know what I mean? So this narrative that the media is trying to push with regard to Spurs is weird, and it all kind of coincides with fans desperately wanting Spurs to struggle and go down. So the fans are the polar opposite. So it's interesting, but yeah, you make a great point with regards to the injuries. We've dealt with them really, really well this season. I dare say that Gabby Goodmunson would have probably been wheeled out against Spurs if we'd have needed the points, and that's kind of how it felt. Noah's going to miss 2 games. Would he have been able to make, the Brighton game? Maybe if we needed the points. I do think that there's a big part of that within this squad. I think there's been times where players have played through the pain thresholds for the badge, and that it's not by luck. You recruit that kind of character. So props to the medical team, absolutely. Props to the players. Props to Farke and how he's managed them as well. So yeah, it's been a frustrating week for me watching the content because I've wanted Leeds to get a little bit more just respect, not praise, just respect, because we turned up and we gave everything that we had at that point to make sure that we're keeping the integrity of the competition.
Yeah, absolutely. I was listening to one of the Athletic podcasts and the Spurs writer on there, and it was like, Spurs could have scored 3 or 4, and it was like, what are you talking about? Yeah, when? And like you say, a really kind of dismissive attitude towards Leeds United, and obviously it's been said about Alan Smith's commentary on the night, and how kind of unashamedly biased it was. Even guy was an Arsenal legend, and it's like, was he trying really hard to appear neutral by bigging up Spurs? It was bizarre. I mean, even watching when Ampadu gets kicked in his head, and he's like, oh well, he doesn't know, blah blah. And it's like, he's kicked him in the head, Alan. Look at his forehead. Alan. He's got a crater in his head where the guy stood is still there. Like, for God's sake!
Wow. I think we experience the same, don't we, with Paul Robinson? Paul Robinson's obviously a Leeds product.
He's unbelievable.
I don't know if he's a Leeds fan, but he's awful to listen to when he's awful.
He is. Oh, it's yeah. I mean, him and Michael Owen, I think it was the other night, they were basically saying this is there for Spurs, and Spurs should this and Spurs should that. It's like, guys, Leeds have lost 1 away game in 11 going into it. For God's sake, come on.
This year.
Talking about the medical stuff as well, and it's just come into my mind. I remember us very early on this season, probably even before the season started, and we kind of said how important it was going to be to have our best players fit, and that if we had a lot of absences, we were already up against it. But if you start to lose your best players, I mean, you can imagine if you'd have lost Ampadu for 3 months, or if you lost Calvert-Lewin for a few months, it impacts you so much. So they've done an amazing job of getting these players on the pitch, and you bang on as well. You recruit characters that are willing to play with a bit of pain and go through that barrier. Is there any part of you thinking, as we go into the next season, the medical team have done brilliant. Let's hope it's the same again next season. The likelihood of being able to replicate being bottom of the injury table again. Now, not to say it's unlikely, but do you know what I mean? It's that kind of thing. Can we? The onus on us is still to improve the general level of the squad, because you can't rely on a performance like that medically again, really, can you? Because you could go into that first game of the season, Ampadu breaks his ankle, or so. There's just too many variables, and I think this season, I mean, the way it's kind of worked out injury wise it's unbelievable, really, because you take a few of those players out and it's really hard. I mean, you look at when Okafor's been missing, him coming back into the team is when we got those points, going to Old Trafford, and that got us over the line, and you just think, are we going to be able to replicate medically that again next season? And because it's a combination of all things. Their methods are obviously top notch, but there's bits of luck in there as well, isn't there? So you can't rely on it again, can you? To go into next season on that, I guess.
Yeah, and we will come to some of your comments soon. I'm in charge of the comments today because Browney's on.
I can't see any.
He can't see any, so I will get to them. I think it's a really interesting debate, if I'm honest. I think it's a really interesting topic. I wish I was a little bit more knowledgeable in it, because I think it's quite fascinating. I think there's a big difference between a big injury of which nothing can be done about, right? So like a breaking of the leg, what I mean? Especially anything that comes from impact. Yeah, a dislocated shoulder, these kind of the injuries that would keep players out for 2, 3, 4, 5, up to 6 months. And then these niggle injuries, pulled hamstrings, pulled quads, calf injuries, pulled groins. There is a lot to be said about the investment and the putting the right things in place to make sure that is managed properly. your fitness levels, the way that you train, training methods, all of these kind of things make a huge difference. It's not that we've not had injuries this season. We're bottom of the injury days. We're not bottom of the injuries. Yeah. West Ham are bottom of that. So the work that's been done in limiting them injuries, how long they're out, the recovery is all down to how good the medical department are. How many times have me and you said, how are they back so quick?
Yeah.
Joe Rodon did his ankle and it was bad. Like, he did it twice within a period of like 20 minutes in that game. That'd have been enough to keep a lot of players out for 6, 7, 8 weeks.
Yeah.
And he was back in 10 days, 2 weeks. It was like, what? And so there's clearly an unbelievable amount of work that goes on in the medical department to make that happen. I don't think it's luck as such from that end, but you're right. We haven't had any big impact injuries. No ACLs, no breakages, none of that kind of thing. So this club this summer need to do everything they possibly can to raise the bar of the overall squad quality. Yeah. There's an argument to say that the starting 11 is good enough to go again, but you ideally need to recruit for the starting 11 to then make it a battle between Anton Stack and somebody else for the starting berth.
Yeah.
Noah Okafor and somebody else. Some 2 options on the right, probably. You know what I mean? Calvert-Lewin or someone else. It doesn't need, I don't think there's a huge drop off to Metro as an example, but the drop from Calvert-Lewin to Pirro, you can't have that. You need somebody that's gonna actually compete with Dominic Calvert-Lewin to start Premier League games week in, week out, and that will then see this team elevate to then be more established than last season or this season. So yeah, I think it's a really fascinating debate. Really fascinating debate.
Would you remember when Ampadu and Tanaka both did the MCL early on this season, and you're just thinking, oh my God, we're not going to have either of them for however long, and then they both came back so quickly. It's super interesting. You're absolutely right about you've got to raise that squad level, and we benefit from having our recent history, which is exactly what we didn't do going into that second season in the Premier League. We
saw a situation with this the other day, didn't we? Because against Spurs, we had 3 first-team injuries, and it resulted in having 2 debutant kids on the bench.
Yeah.
Can't
get away with that, can you?
No.
You really can't get away with that, and we were punished heavily last time for it, and we all know where that kind of ended up. I mean, it's already kind of bubbling with transfers a little bit, isn't it, Jay? There's little bits of bits here and there. I don't know. Yeah. Yes. Lois Openda. So this is one that's kind of a big one that's come up, and interesting guy. I mean, he's scored over 100 club goals already, but he's gone to Serie A. It's not really worked out for him. Sounds a bit similar to the Okafor situation.
He's very similar to Okafor. I was just going to say that myself.
I'm not quite sure how old he is, but he's still 26. Yeah. So yeah, I guess part of me, the thing is, because we've recruited so well, this idea of recruiting broken toys, where it's like they showed some promise early on and then it went wrong, right? Get them to Leeds and we can kind of rediscover it. And actually this season, that's exactly what we've done with several players. But I would say normally, you got to be careful with that kind of thing. But what do you make of that as a signing? I don't know what kind of price that they would be talking about, but I mean, a phenomenal goal scoring record.
He's a very, very similar profile to Noah Okafor, but more of an out-and-out striker option. He's quick. He's rapidly quick. He's always had a really good card on FIFA. I know that because he's played kind of outside of the lines of what you would see in the mainstream. So you see him from time to time pop up as a big football fan. But he played for Bruges. He played for Vitesse over in the Netherlands. He played for Lens in Ligue 1 and then Leipzig. So he's kind of he's always been somewhere that it's kind of gone under the radar. Leipzig was his kind of breakout, and he scored a lot of goals for them. I think he's signed for Juventus on loan this season.
Yeah,
and I don't think he's there permanently.
No, I think they don't, because there's a 40 million kind of fee, but they don't want to pay it basically for how it's gone.
I would imagine that you'll be talking around 30 million. I can't imagine that there's going to be a huge drop from 40 to 20 if that's the valuation that they put in place at the beginning of the season. Now, optional loan clauses are always a little bit higher than guaranteed ones, because there's this chance that the player might go over there and do really, really well, and then the selling club kind of gets stiffed. So that you do find that it's always above market value a little bit. He's played 33 times for Belgium as well. He's got a lot of pedigree. I think he'd translate really well to the Premier League. Yeah. I don't know if it feels a little bit like a lazy link. You know what I mean? Like, Red Bull team, the Leeds have kind of gone down that market before. I don't know if there's any smoke there at all. And we saw this situation with the Japanese lad the other week, didn't we, as well, where it was all like it was done, and then it came out very quickly that it was nowhere near done. So I like him as a player. It'd be very exciting, very, very exciting. It'd be interesting to see how he kind of would fit in within the team. I would imagine that he'd play as a second striker off the right, if we were playing 3-5-2, a bit like what we've done with Okafor, but then it would kind of leave the position of, is it Okafor or him? I don't know. Like, maybe in a 4-3-3, you could play them both. Because I can only imagine right now that Calvert-Lewin's going to still be the main man up front next season. So it's going to be interesting. It's going to be really, really interesting.
Is attack where you're thinking it needs to be bolstered? Because actually, and I heard this point on another, it might be in the Square Ball or something, saying like, when you look at how much we've invested in the top end of the pitch, it's not, mind-blowing. I mean, we bought Peru when we went down, and then obviously we got Okafor last summer, we got Ramazani, but then you look at the players we ended up selling. We got 2 frees as our strikers last season. I think if any of us a year ago, Jay, would have said, right, you're going to spend 17 million on one attacking player, good luck. I think we'd have all gone, what the hell? Surely not. So is now the time to kind of get that bolster? Because when I'm watching us the other day, and like I mentioned before, when Okafor was, and when Okafor has been out of the team, we don't have that necessarily that same X factor in attack. Now, I agree with you in terms of Calvert-Lewin. I think it's a no-brainer. You go again, because I think, yes, he's not the greatest finisher, but he's scored 14 goals. He's a reliable penalty taker, and as long as the team is scoring, aka a lot from his hard work, from all his just his clever play, I think, brilliant. But you would like maybe a better option under him, because Peru, it's a waste of time, isn't it? He's not going to be able to come in and do anything. So is now the time where we look to really bolster that attacking area? Because I think we've seen that a few times. I look at like the Everton and Villa away game where we were on top, but we didn't really have that X factor to bring on, that last 20, 30 minutes, someone who could have really, and look, Nonto I thought he was good against Spurs, and we know that, but is it reliable enough? Dan James, for me, and I really like Dan James, I thought he was exceptional in the Championship, but I personally don't want to see us using Dan James as an attacking option next year. I just don't think he has got it at this level. I just really don't. I don't think it's going to happen for him at this level. And I think if a decent enough offer came in for him, I think let's do it. I think hopefully we can go into next season stronger in those attacking areas and not so reliant on 1 or 2 options.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I think the recruitment strategy was very, very, very brave, risky almost this summer. And if you'd have told us that before we kicked a ball, you'd have been like, we're probably going to go down. Like if that, especially if you didn't know the names involved. If you just said we're going to spend 20 million on all of the attacking line to try and keep us up, you'd be like, and we're going to sign this amount of players, you'd be like, what on earth is happening? So I think that's a great point. And you look through the rest of the team and where we've invested, Yacobiol, Anton Stack, James Justin, Lucas Perry, you have to kind of put into that equation as well. We've invested in the other areas of the team to bolster them. Now, some of them areas still need investing. We can talk about the goalkeeper at some point as well. But yeah, we have to go out and make. It's not just statement signings for statement signings. We need to invest properly. The problem is with attackers, you spend a fortune on a risk at the best of time. You know, look at Noah Okafor. You know, I think of some of the signings that went on this summer. Minter, who went to Brighton.
Brighton, yeah.
You know, were big money. And he was unproven, really. He's had a decent season, but he was unproven. Simon Adingra went to Sunderland from Brighton. He ended up getting shipped out in January. That didn't work. You know what I mean? And that were decent money. And you look through all of the league, you know, whether you're at the bottom, top, middle, if you are signing them players for them areas of the pitch. Look, Burnley spent 25 million on Amando Broya. You know what I mean?
Stinker.
And that's what you get. Sometimes you've got to be so careful with how you invest, because you just stick some money down on a player. You're stuck then with a depreciating asset if it don't work. And the attacking side of the pitch, it just costs so much more than everywhere else because of what they can bring you in the game. They win and lose games, don't they? So that's why the signings of Metcher and Calvert-Lewin were so impressive now when we can look with hindsight. To get them 2 on free transfers, and between them, they've got 21 goals. 21 goals. It's mental, really. So I'm just going to flash this coming up, and I will get to them all in a second. I think if we can get one big name in, they all will want to come. I think we've got big names. I don't think it's about that as such. I think players will be attracted to the project now because we've stayed up. We've got 1 season of establishment behind us. You know, Anton Stack will have had other decent offers. Jacobio will have had other decent offers. You know, Jacobio was flirting with AC Milan before he ended up making the full move to Leeds. So we can attract good players. I think the project, the establishing themselves, will be enough. I don't think we need a big name to come through the door to make that happen. We just need to make sure we get the right recruitment. You know, Anton Stark and Jacobio, for that matter, as the two examples, they weren't super sexy signings.
No.
And look at how good they've been. You know what I mean? So you just got to get the right player. The right name.
I actually think the recruitment last summer has kind of changed my idea about it a little bit, in the fact that I was probably a bit like JB. It's like, right, where's the big flashy signing for 40 million? That's what we need. Pajau, Muniz. What, we're signing 2 strikers on a free? But then you look at the quality and the ambition of it and how it's worked, and that's the key thing. Is it going to work? Are they the right character, the right temperament? It's not all about signing some sexy signing. I mean, it's like, do you remember when we signed Rodrigo? 30 million back to the Premier League. We thought, oh, look at this sexy guy from Spain. He's going to absolutely tear it up. And let's be honest, he was a disappointment the first 2 seasons, especially. It didn't happen. You know, he still didn't, take Patrick Bamford's place for God's sake. I liked him. Third season, you saw him developing a little bit more, and that's probably, to give him some credit, Marsh probably did a good job with Rodrigo in the end, I think, to get him firing. But overall, it wasn't what we all thought it was going to be. 30 million. And like you say, it's so expensive. It's such a huge chunk of your budget. I mean, there's an article that's come out today, Jay, a player that cost 40 million who isn't happy, and it's not really worked for him this season. It's our old boy, Jorginho Rutter, apparently not happy at Brighton. He's not getting his starts. 40 million he was. I mean, it's, and we all love Gio and thought, surely it's going to work for him, but it's just so difficult. It's just so difficult when you invest that kind of money, because you're expecting instant returns. Whereas I think we've had the benefit this year. It's like, okay, well, we signed Metcher for free. He might not do anything, but it's a free, and then lo and behold, he's gone and bagged us critical goals. Won us games, won us valuable points. So it's a whole mixed bag in it. It's about getting it right, and I'm not this season. If we sign players for free transfers, I feel like they've got credit in the bank for us as fans to sit back and go, yeah, let's see how this goes. Let's see who this guy is.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I trust the club 100% to make sure that they get the recruitment right. The they've given us nothing to go off to be worried about. You know, they've not really made a wrong step. Every action that they've made on a recruitment basis has been nearly spot on. Even the players that are in and around the edge of the squads, and I'm going to come to a couple of comments when I finish speaking, because, you know, even the mentions of people like Sam Byram, you know, and, you know, Sebastian Bornau, Joe Perot, maybe you could even throw into that. Buonanotte to a point too. You know, the club didn't panic and freak out in January and think, oh, I'm just going to stick 20 million down on Buonanotte because he's now available. They wanted him in the summer. They went about it in a way that made sense for Leeds, and it hadn't worked out, but it hadn't cost us anything. It makes perfect sense. Georgina Rutter's a great example. I mean, he had a good first season, I would say, but, you know, he's not getting game time in a great Brighton side, by the way. Like, you know, Gio could still come back to Leeds as an example and improve our squad. But yeah, it doesn't always work out. It doesn't always suit. You know, that is recruitment. So when you actually look on the face of everything that we've done and you look at how good they've all been, I mean, they've nailed it, mate. I'm telling you now, you won't find another squad within the division that's got the recruitment as good as ours this summer.
No.
The summer just gone. The season just gone. So let's come to a couple of these comments. I'm sorry, Brian. I know it's
go for it.
You can maybe answer some of them today. JB did say that we still can't gift out and it needs sorting. And then he said, Jay, sort the super chats out for next live, mate. So
Jay's in charge now. Jay's
not in charge.
Leave it to him.
Sort out. Carl said another one or two attacking players is needed to push further up the table, and JB said I think it needs to be more than 2, maybe 4. Personally, I think there'll be a bit of an overhaul in the squad this summer. Unfortunately, as kind of much you fall in love with players, to evolve, you need that. I think it'll probably be close to 6 or 7 within the whole squad. You know, you're talking the fringe players, Buonanotte, Pirro, Byram, and I know somebody else mentioned, you know, them kind of set of players here. You know, and then you do need to replace them within the squad to bulk out that overall quality. Like I say, it's not just about the players that get on the pitch. It's about driving that 11 to new levels to stay on the pitch, because you've got even better behind you. And I do think we've had a lot of that this season. You know, I think we've seen better performances from Joe Rodon and Pascal Struijk at Premier League level because they've had James Justin, Bornau even. Bornau's barely put a foot wrong, by the way.
Yeah.
You know, people were mugging that signing off at £5 million. I think it's been a great signing. Because if we're not signed Sebastian Bornau, we'd have kept James DeBayo, and it'd have been James DeBayo off the bench when we needed someone.
Well, I think with Bornau as well, I think people have been very quick to kind of slander him or, oh, he's not good enough. It's like, it's almost like people, because the recruitment's been so spot, it's like, well, someone's got to be bad. Somebody's got to get the grief. And I feel, it's like when Bornau came on the other night, I thought he was super competent, did everything he needed to do. And it's like, why are we in a rush to maybe get rid of this guy? I don't know. If we're playing with 3 centre-backs, we need centre-backs. We need centre-backs. And I think he's come in and been really, really solid for us.
I agree. I think he's been great.
Yeah,
you know, he played at Anfield away when we got a 0-0 draw. Yeah. Like, every time we've called upon him, the only kind of black mark on him was he made his debut at Sheffield Wednesday away. When Sheffield Wednesday turned up with an under-18s team, no fans in the stadium, and we end up losing on penalties. Played alongside Jacoby All. They both made the debut that day, and they both stunk in a back 4. And that were maybe, you know, maybe that just carries too much weight. But yeah, I think he's big. I'd keep him for next season. Like I say, if we're continuing to plan to play a back 3, I wouldn't be against a big sale within and reinvest.
Well, the thing is as well, Jay, you need, I mean, you know, you can't have your backup centre-back can't be world class. They're not going to accept that. They're not going to be there. I mean, I've seen that the Union Berlin player is, I think, Doki. I think he's, you know, he's going on a free. We were linked with him previously. Seems like an exciting profile, good age and everything. So we'll see there. But I mean, yeah, I think you're right. It's going to be fascinating to see what we do, and there could be a big sale, you know, in that point. And yeah, I don't think we need to rush Born out of the door.
No, I agree. lads, please tell me we get rid of Byron, Mays, Pirro. They ain't good enough. I mean, I think we're kind of making the point that there definitely needs to be some rotation. I think Pirro's a great opportunity to get some funds in. I reckon he'll end up at Burnley, or Wolves even. You know, Wolves signed Adam Armstrong in January, in preparation for the Premier League. I don't know why they didn't strike up a deal with us for Joe Pirro with Strand Larsen. I don't get it. They went out and signed Adam Armstrong 100%. Separate to the deal that took Strand Larsen to Palace. And maybe Strand Larsen just pushed for the Palace move. I don't know. But he'd have been perfect. He's better than Adam Armstrong as well. And I think, you know, don't be so quick to wish Byram off as an example. Byram's not played a game this season. He's helped us fill the quota. I'm sure that he's brilliant in training. I'm sure he's brilliant for experience and leadership and, you know, making sure that the values of being a Leeds player are upheld. All the things, all the intangibles that the fans don't think about. I bet he does it in spades behind the scenes. You know, he's always happy. He's always up every game. Let him be, man. Like, I agree. So there is some other great comments as well, but I'm conscious of time because I'm guessing that you're going to have to go at 12.
We've still got stuff to go through.
I'll let you.
Just a quick mention on just before we get to the Brighton preview, but the Manager of the Year nominations were out. Farke nowhere to be seen. I do have it up on my computer here as well. So we've got Keith Andrews, we've got Arteta, Carrick, Pep, Iriola and Labrie. I mean, I do think if we were above Sunderland at this time, I think Farke would have got that slot as, you know, as a nomination. But some eyebrow raising from there. I mean, Michael Carrick won for me. I mean, he's an interim manager. And I'm just, what did you make of the list? Because I mean, Keith Andrews, I think, you know, look, it's inarguable the situation that he took over and the expectation. I think, that's right. But Carrick, I was a little bit scratching my head with that a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I don't get it. I mean, Labrie's 4 points in front of us. I would argue over the course of the whole season, we've played better football. We've looked better. Yeah, they have 4 points more on the board. So I suppose you can't, with two promoted clubs, you can't put one on and then not the other. You couldn't put Farke on without Labrie being on there. Is what I'm trying to get to. I get it, but it feels to me like he deserves it more. You know, bear in mind, Sunderland fans are not happy at the minute.
He could be going, Labrie.
Right? But there is a reason, because they're not very good. No. Like, I'm telling you, they will be down there next season. I'm going to stand on that hill because I've bashed them all season. So Carrick, I think, is a nonsense being on there. It feels very much like a Man United English pick. He's an interim manager. It's all right being caretaker. It's all right being substitute teacher. You can get people to do whatever for a few months. It's a different kettle of fish when you're in the blood and guts of it and your neck's on the line. So I'm a little irritated by it, but for what it matters. And I think Pep's in the same kettle of fish. I mean, Pep's, Man City should finish the minimum of second every season. The minimum. So he's going to finish probably the minimum. I just don't get it. I agree. He's rebuilt them brilliant and he plays some great football, but I don't think it's what that kind of award is about. No. You know what I mean? No, I agree. It should be in it. Farke should absolutely be in it.
Yeah, it's a shame. I mean, it's for me, he doesn't get the recognition, I don't think. And I'm hoping as we go into next season that'll change. This game this weekend, then Jay, we play on Sunday. It's Brighton at home. We owe Brighton a little bit, don't we? Have we beaten Brighton since we've been back in the Premier League under Bielsa as well? I don't think we have we? I think we got a draw is the most we've done. I don't recall beating them.
I think we drew. I don't think we drew at home under Bielsa, and I don't think we've beaten them. I don't think we've beaten them.
No, I don't think we've. No, because even the Joffrey to strike, that was just to equalise, wasn't it?
That was what kept us up, wasn't it? One of the points that kept us up back in the season.
But I mean, Brighton, they've been on a similar kind of journey to Bournemouth a little bit, where, I mean, there were a period of time where they couldn't win a game. Hertzler was under pressure, and you thought, where's this going for him? And then all of a sudden, Jay, they've turned it around up to 7th. You know, they'll be eyeing Well, they can catch Bournemouth in 6th. They'll be going for that 6th place finish, and we've spoken about how well run they are as a club. Herzl are ridiculously young. It's created like 33 or something.
Yeah.
It's absolute madness. Just a good solid club. But I would love for us to actually just beat them, because it feels like we've just it's one of them little. I don't want to say bogey team, but it feels a little bit like a bogey team. I mean, even if you go back to the championship days and everything, it was some interesting moments. But yeah, I would love for us to stick one on them this weekend.
Yeah, no, they definitely are a bit of a bogey team. I remember Chris Wood scoring that header, that hanging header that he played back the way that he came at Ellen Road.
Oh yeah.
I think that was the last time we beat them.
Yeah.
Then they'd been in the Premier League and we were obviously stuck in the Championship. I actually went to the with Dean the day that Fabian Delph scored the goal of the season, where he carried it.
Right. Oh wow.
On half
Yeah.
into the, and we beat them. I think we beat them 2-0 that day.
Yeah.
And that's a long ass journey, and the new ground's a lot better than the with Dean was. And you other side at running track, if you remember that, it were an awful ground. But yeah, they are a bit of a bogey team. I agree with you, and I also think they're a bit of our kryptonite. I think they're a little bit like the way that they play, a bit like Arsenal, not to the same degree, obviously, but I think it just lays perfect into what we don't want to play against.
Yeah.
So it's not a game I feel great about, home or away. I hope we show up. I hope it'd be nice to send the fans off with at least something come the end of the season. I'd love to see us hit 3 points, because if we finish with back-to-back wins, which I think is probably going to be a tall order, but if we did, it'd really fire us up the table, and we'd get maybe another £8 million worth of prize money. So it's an interesting game, and one it'd be nice to see us pick some points up in for sure.
Yeah, well, we can still potentially finish on 50 points. Looking elsewhere then as well, Jay, that relegation picture, absolutely fascinating it is as well. We'd managed to kind of pull Spurs down to earth a little bit with that point. And the more you look at it, if West Ham can beat Newcastle, which they have a good record recently against Newcastle at St James's, if they can do that, and if they can just nudge ahead of Spurs, obviously, Spurs don't play until Tuesday because Chelsea are in the cup final. That pressure is going to be ramped so high. God knows what state Chelsea will be in after that cup final. Like, hopefully they can just throw it in against Man City and focus all their efforts on Spurs. But it feels like with that draw against Leeds, it's really kind of put Spurs, because I mean, Everton at home, final day season, that's not an easy one either.
No, David, thanks for your comments. I've seen that you've banged a few in. If we win the last two and Chelsea lose both, we finish above them, which is true, which is crazy, isn't it, when you think about it? And I don't see us losing the last two games. I fancy us to maybe relegate West Ham. I think the West Ham Stadium, or the Olympic Stadium, whatever it's bloody called now, London City Stadium, I've lost track with it. I think that's going to be a really tough place to go on the last game of the season if West Ham are in front of Spurs on that day. Really, really tricky. I think West Ham beat Newcastle this weekend, and I think Spurs win to Chelsea midweek. I think the pressure that's going to be on Spurs midweek, if they're a point behind West Ham, going to Stamford Bridge, regardless of what Chelsea's been turning up recently, regardless of what happens in the FA Cup, Stamford Bridge is going to be like on fire. Like, they're going to be so desperate to send them down. That's exactly like Leeds turning up in bad form against Manchester United and having the opportunity to send Manchester United down. Like, it is massive, massive. So I don't think it's over by a long stretch of the imagination. I think when the Spurs players kind of fell to the ground at the end of the Leeds game, I think you saw a little bit of a moment of realization there that, right, okay, this is going to be difficult. West Ham playing like a few days before Spurs as well just leaves them in this state of mind that they can create that pressure. Newcastle have not been great. They kind of limped over the line against Forest. They beat Brighton a little bit out of character, but then before that they'd lost 5 in a row, and they've not had a good season. The fact that they're only a few points in front of us kind of tells you how poor of a season it's been for the team that they've got. So I think it's going to be a super interesting one, mate. I can't wait to watch it all unfold when I'm poolside at Cyprus. So I literally, I'm gunning for it. I can't wait to kind of see how it all unfolds. And if I had to put my I had to put my money on it, I mean, it's hard to kind of argue with the 2-point gap, because you always would go with the 2-point gap that Spurs have got. Points always mean more. But I fancy West Ham to get it done. West Ham have looked good most of the time. They were poor against Brentford in the second half, but outside of that, they've been pretty good.
Yeah.
I think they're going to go at Newcastle, and I think they'll beat them.
Well, I mean, that Matías Fernandes chance against Arsenal, if that goes in, they'll probably win that game. We'd have been banging it then, wouldn't we? We'd have been roped back in it somehow. God, what was I going to say then? That West Ham.
I'm just going to flash some of these comments on what you think about that, because JB's coming at me a little bit. Jason Papira, I say honestly, he'd rather sign me. He wants me to play up front over Joe Pereira. You don't. I mean, I was an alright player 15 years ago, but not now. And then he says, Jay, you're minted, mate. Swear, you've been on holiday. That's not true. Like, I'm actually on my ass at the minute, but we make it work. I've had this book for a while. And PSF, thanks for coming back, PSF. I know that we've not always saw eye to eye, but it seems like you're in slightly better spirits now. It's funny what the results will do. I thought recruitment last summer was one of the best in our history. We should be in ninth according to XG. I agree, but I bet that you didn't agree at the time. I'm going to put that back at you, because not many people, probably even us included, Browney.
There was no doubt. I remember the first few games of the season, Jay, as well. Like, I was like, how do we actually score goals? I'm not sure how we're ever going to create enough chances to score enough goals, and then lo and behold, it's all fine.
Farke deserves the credit, because he's got us. We do look very creative most weeks. We always create some big chances. So,
absolutely.
How do you think it's going to go? Spurs, West Ham.
I don't know. I think if they can beat Newcastle, I think it'll be absolutely huge, because I agree with you. I think West Ham they've been decent. That second half against Brentford aside, I think that's the crucial. I think if they beat Newcastle, I think they can do it. I'm interested. That was what I was going to say. Did you hear De Zerbi in the post-match to Spurs saying about, I hope Leeds turn up like that against West Ham? Classic Ferguson-esque mind games going on.
Mate, if West Ham, genuinely, if West Ham are in front going into that last game, I won't be bothered, mate. We'll out the 16s.
No, absolutely. With that opportunity, I think just let them have it. It'll be fine.
I always want us to win games, but it's not even about. It's funny to send Spurs down. That is funny. Like, I can't lie, it is funny. But it's more about the long-term effects of what it means to Leeds. Because West Ham will be down there again next season. They've got money issues. There's a lot of unrest there. You know, the club's still not in a great footing, even though they've kind of turned it around under Nuno. I think it's a better world for Leeds United next season with West Ham in the Premier League.
Yeah, I do, because they're going to have to sell regardless. They're in massive trouble. I do one thing just before I finish. I will say for Spurs, I do think the way De Zerbi has gone about his communication, I think he's been spot on, and I think he's been a world away from what they've had. Just his messaging has been so strong.
He's given him a chance, mate. They go down without him. I think they're already down without him, because I don't see, even though Wolves and Villa were as bad as they were, I don't think that they'd go away to Molineux and got that result. Even the Wolves one, I don't think they get. So, I agree with you. I agree. I think he's nailed it. He's not even pushed on the tactics too much. He's just done what is needed to do to try and get results. I think he's nailed it.
Good stuff. Right, we'll leave it there. Thank you very much to everyone who commented. If you've not done so already, please do like the video and subscribe to the channel. Myself and Jay, we will be back to discuss things. Obviously, Jay's going away on another holiday, so we'll see what we can do. I'm away as well, though, actually, after the West Ham game, so we'll get it figured out. But stay tuned. We'll be back, and we'll catch you again soon. Jason, thank you very much, mate.
Thank you,
and we'll see you soon. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.